Someone says something that cuts deep, and your body doesn't argue. It freezes. Your throat tightens. Your mind goes blank. You can't speak, even when you desperately want to. They think you're giving the silent treatment, but you're not punishing anyone. You're drowning. In this video, we're breaking down the psychology of the shutdown response, why your nervous system can pull the plug during conflict, why it looks like stonewalling from the outside, and how to come back online without shame. To understand this, we have to start with your nervous system and a concept called neuroception. Before you form a conscious thought, your brain is already scanning for danger, not just obvious danger, subtle danger. A tiny shift in tone, a raised eyebrow, a micro-expression of contempt, a pause that feels loaded. Your system makes a snap decision, safe or not safe. And when it decides not safe, you can get pushed outside what psychologists call your window of tolerance, the zone where you can stay present, think clearly, and communicate. Most people know the classic responses, fight or flight. You argue, you defend, you escalate, or you leave, you shut the door, you disappear. But there's a third response that happens when your brain decides, I can't win, I can't escape. This is too much. It hits the emergency brake. In a polyvagal framework, this is often described as a dorsal vagal shutdown, the freeze or collapse response. And when it happens, it can feel like your system flips a switch. Your thoughts slow down, your body gets heavy, and your words disappear. Not because you don't care, but because your body is trying to survive a moment it has labeled as overwhelming. Here's the tragedy. From the outside, shutdown looks exactly like stonewalling. Stonewalling is a communication tactic. It's when someone uses silence as a weapon to punish, to control, to win. But shutdown isn't a weapon. It's a shield. A person stonewalling often feels cold, superior, in control. A person shutting down feels terrified, trapped, and out of control. You might be screaming inside your own head, say something, fix it, explain. But in the moment, the bridge between your brain and your mouth feels collapsed. And that misunderstanding creates one of the most painful relationship cycles, the pursuer-distancer loop. You shut down, the other person feels ignored or abandoned, their anxiety spikes, so they pursue. They get louder, they demand answers. Talk to me, say something, why are you doing this? But to a shut-down nervous system, louder doesn't feel like help. It feels like threat. Not literally predator, but your body reacts as if it's being cornered. So the louder they get, the deeper you freeze. The more they chase, the more your system locks. Two people, both scared, accidentally triggering each other, and calling it a communication problem. So why does your nervous system read a normal argument like life or death? Usually the answer lives in your past. Shutdown is often a learned adaptation. A child can't fight. A child can't leave. So the child learns the one strategy that reduces damage. Disappear. Maybe your caregivers were volatile. If you argued back, it got worse. If you cried, you were shamed. If you explained yourself, you were mocked, ignored, or gaslit. So your brain learned a brutal equation. Visibility equals danger. Voice equals punishment. And you got good at going quiet. Not because you were weak, because you were smart. That invisibility kept you safer back then. But as an adult, it can sabotage intimacy because your partner's disappointment today doesn't feel like a hard moment. It feels like the past returning. Your nervous system isn't reacting to your partner, it's reacting to an old template. And that's why people misread you. They assume quiet means you don't care. They don't see the hurricane behind your blank stare. You might feel guilt for freezing, which creates more anxiety, which pushes you deeper into shutdown. It's like solitary confinement built inside your own body. Then comes phase 2, post-conflict rumination. Hours later, when you're alone and your system finally feels safer, your mind comes back online. And suddenly, you have all the words, the perfect explanation, the perfect boundary, the perfect comeback. You replay the scene at 2 a.m. You say the sentences in the shower that you couldn't access in the moment. And then the shame hits. Why am I so articulate in my head, but useless when it matters? Here's the key. You might be confident at work. You can present to 50 people. You can negotiate. You can handle conflict with strangers. But intimate conflict is different because it threatens your attachment safety. It's not an argument. It's, do I still belong? Am I still loved? Am I safe? That's why the shutdown is so intense with the people you care about most. So how do you break the glass? How do you come back online? First, stop forcing words. When you're in shutdown, being told, just talk, can feel impossible, like trying to start a car with no engine. The goal is not to win the argument. The goal is to signal safety to your body. That requires an exit strategy you practice before you need it. Here's a phrase you can literally memorize. Safe phrase. I'm flooded. I'm not ignoring you. I need 20 minutes and I will come back. Not, leave me alone forever. Not, I don't care. A clear promise. I'm overwhelmed and I'm returning. Then you physically interrupt the spiral. Cold water on your face, feet on the floor. Name 5 things you can see. Slow exhale, longer than your inhale. You're not trying to be poetic. You're proving to your nervous system this is a conflict, not a catastrophe. And when you return, don't aim for the perfect speech. Start with one sentence. Return phrase. I'm back. I can speak now. The thing that hurt me was simple, direct, human. One more thing. The thaw. When an animal comes out of freeze, it doesn't just switch back to normal. It often shakes, trembles, cries, collapses. That's trapped stress energy leaving the system. So if you thaw and you start shaking, or you cry uncontrollably, or you feel exhausted like you ran a marathon, that can be normal. That's your nervous system rebooting. Do not shame yourself for the thaw. And if you're the person who goes silent when hurt, hear this. Your silence is not a character flaw. It is the echo of a child who had to hide to survive. You're not broken. Your alarm system is just too sensitive. It protected you back then, but you are an adult now. You have choices. You have power. You can build new exits, and your voice is becoming safe to use. If this pattern is frequent or tied to older wounds, working with a trauma-informed therapist can help a lot. But even before that, start here. Name it, pause it, ground, return. You don't need to become louder. You just need to come back online.